Thank you very much. And for the record, I'm Michael. I'm not Mike. I know Mike is also Michael, but he calls himself Mike. But I actually call myself Michael. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm mnord, MNORD, at twitter.com. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be here in Vilnius. It's my first time in the Baltics. It's my first time flying Air Baltic, so also an experience. And I look forward, as I tweeted this morning, to meet new people. Whenever I travel, whenever I go somewhere, whether it's behalf of my work or whether it's behalf of IABC, I always look forward to meet fellow communicators like yourselves. I think by meeting, talking, exchanging ideas, exchanging our experience, we learn so much from each other. I can always learn something else. I mentor a number of young people, and I think I get more out of it than they do sometimes, but you can ask them. So I'm here to talk about IABC. I joined IABC more than 10 years ago. I was, at the time, just joined a global company, Fifth Business, who I would still work for, working in internal communications. It was a challenge because I've always worked in external communications, doing public relations, doing marketing, direct marketing, and now I had a job doing internal communications. So I was looking for someone who could give me a network, someone who could show me a bigger world than the world that I was working in. And just happened to be that the IABC at the time was looking to set up a chapter in my country, the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And I found them on LinkedIn. I signed up and I went to a meeting. And as the saying goes, if you put your hand up, you sit on a board. And that's what happened to me. I became one of the founders of the chapter in Holland. I became the first treasurer because I was the only one who could speak Dutch and read Dutch. All the bank papers were in Dutch. And the year after, the chair stepped down, Rob Briggs, who I learned a lot from. And suddenly I was the chair of a chapter. I was a leader. It was very daunting. But I also realized that I had this big organization behind me who were there for me. And that's the story I'm going to tell you. So what is IABC? Our vision that we formulated a few years ago is we want to see professional communicators at the heart of every organization. And when we use every, we literally means every. Whether you are a global organization, corporation, if you're an NGO, government, we want there to be communication support to leaders, communication support to management and to the board. Our purpose as an organization is to advance our profession. And how do we do that? We do it by creating connection, and we do it by developing strategic communicators. So we offer development for our members, whether that's you're at beginner level, more advanced level, or senior level as myself. You can always learn something else. You can always learn something new, and I think Jasna and her chatbots are an extremely good example of that. Jasna has been doing this for 3-4 times now. I've seen you doing it, and I think we can always learn from each other. And that's what we do at IABC. This is how we do it. This is how the organization is put together. We have the international over here, and the international's job or task is to create the global framework. What is it we want to do? What is the strategy? How are we moving forward? Which tools, which budgets, which finances do we have available? And we support the regions on the right, the EMENA region, which having this meeting as an example. And at the regional level, they provide regional level leadership, they develop development of members and sharing of good practices. And I think the region is really doing an outstanding job with its webinars. I think the webinars that we started with as an idea 3-4 years ago has really taken off and is a great way of sharing knowledge. And then within regions, there are 100 chapters worldwide. It makes me look a little more impressive when I do this. This is the IABC map. So anything that's not this color blue as you see in South America or a large part of Africa or Greenland That is where IABC has a presence. North America, Canada, and the US is where we come from. This is where we were born. And we were born in 1970, so almost 50 years ago, and we're working hard to come up with good celebrations in 2020 of our 50 years existence. But we were actually born out of the merger of two organizations. The American, I can't remember, the Editors Association, I think one of them was, but I can't remember the other one. The Industrial Editors, that's right. Thank you, Gloria. The Canada and the US is divided into a number of regions, and then we have three other regions, namely the EMENA, that covers Europe, and where the blue is where we have chapters, and Russia, as you see, the Middle East, and then we have Africa, and then we have Asia Pacific. So you can see outside North America, the regions over here covers vast areas and a number of different challenges than if you're speaking one language, or two if you're speaking French-Canadian. But we are covering so many more languages and so many more cultures. So it's a bigger challenge for us. And also we see a bigger competition from national association or regional associations. But as you can see, there are 10,000 members worldwide within our 8 regions. Membership-wise, about 80% up here in North America and Canada, and the rest is in EMENA, Africa, and Asia Pacific. So what do we do and how do we advance the profession? Certification is a really big thing for us. For many, many years, we ran the ABC program, Accredited Business Communicator, and a few years ago, we decided to change it, make it more up to scratch with world's requirements, and we created 2 certification programs, the CMP and the SCMP, Communication Management Professional and Senior Management Professional. And there are a number of people here in the room who have taken the SCMP, right, Alex? You're one of them, and I'm the other one. I took my exam this summer. It's a multiple choice, it's 100 questions, and you have 3 hours. And I can tell you, even at my age and experience, it's tough. Because you are questioned not just in your own field within communications, or whether that's crisis communications, or whether that's PR, or whether, in my case, internal communications, you are questioned very broadly. And there were questions about crisis communications that I had trouble with. And after 2.5 hours, I gave up and said, I've done it. I've looked over the questions 100 times now. I'll leave the room. And then a week later, you get an email, and I passed. So I'm very happy that I can now say I'm an SCMP. And I'm promoting it because I think when you look at other professions, whether you look at architects, whether you look at engineers, whether you look at doctors, they all have certification. And we should have that as well. So now we have it. But how do we build people up to take their exam? We do that through the IABC Academy. The IABC Academy are courses run by communicators like yourselves and myself, and we offer a wide range of courses, from beginner's level, some people just out of school, starting with their first job, to very senior programs as well, in order for us to take the SCMP. The Academy offers online courses, whether you want to self-pace, or you just click up and sign up for one course that's delivered live, or you can follow the recording afterwards. The other thing we do to advance our profession is our Gold Quill program. And our Gold Quill, the award program, has been running for many, many years. It is awarded every year at our World Conference, and we have about 120 recipients every year. And that means that we have about 500 people applying to win an award. And winning an award is something you not only just put on a shelf somewhere in your office, it's actually something that we see people mentioning, and again, we did an award-winning program. So whenever you are soliciting new business, or if you're looking for a new job, you can say, I'm an award winner. And the final thing we do is ethics in a box. We want people to be ethical. We want people to communicate in a true and right way. And I think the whole discussion these past 2 years about fake news, about how certain people, I won't mention names, in certain governments around the world is using communication for their own benefit, is something we are questioning. And together with a number of other global associations, we actually sent out a statement very recently where we distance ourselves from lies and we tell communicators like yourselves, be true, be open, be honest. And if your bosses tell you to lie, you should stand up to them because it will come back and bite you. So please remember this. And you can find our ethics on our website, IABC.com. These are the two things. So here on the right, ta-da, is actually Via receiving her Gold Quill Award last year in Washington, D.C. And to the left is my certification of Strategic Communication Management Professional, SCMP, which is something I put behind my name and title whenever I do something. The last thing I want to say, the first time I attended World Conference, which is IABC's big flagship event every year, every summer, it was in New York. It was in 2008. I was just a new member, just became a chapter leader, and I went to New York, stayed with a friend to make it cheap, and then went downtown every day to the hotel where the conference was at. 1,500 people in one room, all my peers, all peers who are either further in their career or coming to the point that I was in their careers, and you could have great conversations. Not only listening to great speakers, not only listening to be part of great workshops, but having conversations in a break, having conversations in the evening, over drinks, over dinner. That's what really gave me the energy, and that's why I'm standing here today. I spend a lot of time for IABC because I believe it's a great organization, and it gave me so much back, and I wouldn't miss it. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, and it's in the World Conference next year is going to be in Vancouver, Canada, right?
Yes.
And if you're looking for more opportunities with IABC, there's another one in February taking place in very exotic and interesting place, which is Bahrain. And that is the regional conference of EMENA IABC. So what I would like to ask Michael is not to answer any question right now, but to have a seat at one of our lovely chairs and invite the other panelists to the panel discussion. And that would be Mike Klein, who you've seen already. Also, Lina Jakučionienė, who is the chairman of the Lithuanian Communications Association. And also EACD ambassador, which is European Association of Communications Directors. So she's also like seeing the international world of another communications organization. And the fourth person is also a person from representing Lithuanian Marketing Association. So we have different associations in the room today, and that's Andrius Milinavičius, the board member of the LIMA, the Lithuanian Marketing Association. And what I would like to do right now is to have some discussion about where communications world is heading, and I'm working out the logistics right now. So having all of the professionals of different associations, I would like to touch a couple of topics with you. What do you think is the future of communicators, and what would be, because communications is going to digital, it's going to internal, external, it's blending with marketing, where do you think communications professionals can add the most value?
So thank you, Via, for inviting me. Yes, answering to your question, there are a lot of discussions and even escalations that in the future communication professionals will be replaced by artificial intelligence, by robots, by chatbots, and so on. In some functions, yes, I totally agree when we speak about automatization in communication processes. But if we speak about reputation and trust, if we speak about creativity, emotions, and solving of crisis situations, I can hardly imagine that it could be managed by artificial intelligence. So that's why I strongly believe that the role and importance of communication professionals in the future will be even higher. And it's not only me who believe in that, but the forecasts and tendencies in Europe show that more and more communication professionals become the members of the management boards or the members of the highest level of management. And they not only distribute information about the decisions of an organization, but they are involved in the creation of the decisions. So that's why we should speak about recognition from one side, but from another side, we should also remember about the increased scope of responsibilities of communication managers. We should remember about how to build and remain trust and reputation, how to link the business strategy with communication, how to cope with digital evolution and social web. And it's a very funny thing how to do more with less. I mean, having limited budgets, limited marketing and communication budgets, and limited amount of FTEs. You should create more. You should achieve more target audiences than before. And one of the biggest challenge today would be how to cope with the speed and volume of information flow. So from one side, we speak about recognition. From another side, we speak about increased scope of responsibilities of communication professionals in the future.
Yeah, and actually here I have a follow-up question, and maybe to some more of you to answer. Like, does it mean that communicators have to learn marketing, digital marketing, you know, internal communications and so on, or vice versa, marketers have to learn communications? How does it all work?
Yeah, I could share with my example. I work for Ergo Group. Ergo Group is based and acts in more than 30 countries in Europe. And from these 30 countries, only Baltic states and Turkey have been left who didn't join marketing and communication functions. And in the Baltic states, we're doing the same. We're joining marketing and communication functions because of two reasons, because of efficiency and cost savings. Of course, instead of two project managers, we could have only one manager, because every single marketing campaign is or should be at least supported by PR activities. So we could do, and I'm turning to the same issue, to do more with less. To do more with less.
Can I just give an example of that? I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with that strategy. One of my clients is one of the world's largest energy companies, and they have created one floor in the executive office with PR, with shareholder relations, and internal communication and external communications. So they are all sharing one floor, they can all hear the same stories, and they can all take those stories and make them from internal to external and from external to internal. And I think the integrated communications department is the way.
Andrius, maybe you have something to add.
I saw my colleague wanted to say something first, so I'm giving.
Thanks for that. I've actually been involved in accumulating some research that's been done by the Internal Communication Center of Excellence called IC Collective on the issue of the quote-unquote convergence between internal and external communication. And the most important finding that we've come to is, yes, integration between external and internal communication is definitely increasing. But that does not mean that there's a tend towards generalism. It does not mean that there's a blurring of the lines between disciplines, even as there is a blurring of the lines between functions. If anything, the need for dedicated understanding and execution internally is increasingly apparent rather than decreasingly apparent. That's a really good sign for the internal communications world. That much being said, with the larger question, even though there is increasing demand for communication support and increasing recognition of the need for communication support in organizations, we also have a very strange trend towards something I call deprofessionalization, where in our profession, because communication is something that everybody does, that means lots of people can call themselves communicators and even professional communicators without really getting what it is that professional communication is all about. And that brings us back to what Michael talked about on certification, that the need for global standards and global certification to demonstrate that, yes, I am a true communications professional rather than somebody with a laptop and the ability to turn out a sentence. But that's key, because if we lose the professionalization battle, even if there's an increasing demand in principle for our services, it won't necessarily be us delivering those services.
Yeah, and that brings me to my usual or standard joke, what I am saying. Try to be the CEO that thinks that he's the best communicator in the company and he knows how the department of communications should be working. And there's another issue that's also, at least in Lithuanian market, we like to discuss it a lot. Marketing or communication comes first, you know. And we even had our two associations, Lima and other associations of communication specialists or professionals, like joining the joint discussions, and we were talking. And I do actually believe that both disciplines, they interfere so much, and it's not so important which part comes first. It's more important for us to remember that we are not just like being a professionals in a discipline that works for itself. We work for people, and being able to communicate, it's being able to explain people what you care or what's important for you, right? So we can draw a lot of things that you have to know. It should be done like this or like this, but it doesn't matter if people don't understand you. So I would like to stick to that. Like, we should learn how to talk, and keeping in mind all the artificial intelligence systems, etc. Yeah, they will write better text than we do, of course. They will respond better. They will respond faster. But there are a few more things that they will lack: the emotional intelligence and I think the network of people that rely on you and they believe in you. We can always find a text written somewhere, but do you believe what's written there? And nowadays, with fake news, we don't even sure should we believe or not. But when we have a friend or we have a person we actually follow and he says something, then it's different. We do believe that it comes from his experience, right?
Absolutely, and that actually brings me to another question, because if it doesn't matter, if we just have to talk to people and make sure that the message gets across, and it gets across much harder every time, like every time it's getting harder to make sure that people understand you, so to say, not to communicate, but make sure that people actually get it. So my question here brings me to why recognition and why certification, because there's so many certification and education out there, and which ones we should pick. And I would like Andrius to comment from perspective of Lima, who has an established local certification program, and then Michael to follow up on the international perspective as well.
Well, just to start a bit, why Lima's organization decided to have a certification. It's an old organization. It's one of the most active organizations in our country. We have more than 1,000 of members, the active members. Our organization is organizing more than 100 events a year locally, not only in Vilnius and Kaunas. So there's a lot of things happening. And in our organization, we usually say, like, we care about the people, about the knowledge, and about the žmonės, žinios, patirtis, and experience, of course. So, but afterwards, when we had a lot of discussions and events, we've noticed, like, a standard marketing person, let's just like draw a line here, he says, like, on everyday basis, I have like some issues that I have to explain to my managers or to the board members. And it's a common thing that, for example, when some company is trying to hire a marketing person, they expect him to write, for example, Facebook posts. And when a person that is skilled, he's a professional, he spent a lot of years learning, he comes and says, like, I'm not going to write them, right? It's not my job to do. And then we started to talk to HR managers, to the headhunters, and we're saying, do the companies or the people that decide that they need extra skilled people, do they understand what's a manager, what's a specialist, and what's a marketing assistant? And we understood, like, it's a long way to go, guys. It's a long way to go. And that's exactly why we partnered with the Netherlands Marketing Association, I think. I don't remember exactly the name. And these guys, they're doing it for 50 years already. 5-0. It's a long way. And we decided to start a certification here together with a very professional partner in Lithuania, ISM University. And we saw an amazing results afterwards because we had professionals that attended those certification lessons and they failed in the exams. And I said, like, was it that hard? I said, like, no, I just felt like I really know what I'm doing every day. And then I understood, like, yes, I know, but there's some more things I should know extra. So that's a funny part, but actually the success rate is 70 to 80%. In both programs we have for the managers and for the specialists, and we work very closely with the HR agencies, and we specifically want them to educate the CEOs of the companies for them to understand what do they really need. When you write in the job description you need a marketing manager, do you really need him? Maybe you need just a random specialist at this point of the projects you're working on.
Fair point.
I totally agree with you. I have often been asked by a CEO or manager, could you write my Yammer post? And I said, no. You write your Yammer post. It needs to be in your language. You can show it to me before you post it. I'm not writing your Yammer post. If you want to engage staff, it should come from you. An article, yes, that's my job, but the Yammer post is your job. So I agree with you. And I think the challenge, exactly what you pointed out, that when HR is looking at a number of CVs, how do you stand out? How do you come to the top 5 is by having certification, is by demonstrating and showing to whoever is reading your CV or looking at your LinkedIn profile, this person took the time and the effort not only to train him or herself to be better than whatever the training or schooling he took or he or she took in the beginning, but actually to keep improving. And you can only demonstrate that by certify yourself. And I definitely think, and I'm looking at Alex right now, I think you had the same experience when you took your exam. It's tough, and it should be tough. The one other thing I want to say about a global certification is we are working to get our ISO certified. So we want to ensure that the process we follow, the way we do it, is actually so good that HR professionals will say, wow, yes, I believe in this. I believe in this certification. And if we can get that and start really talking about it, I think the number of certified people is increasing really, really dramatically at the moment, but we want to see even more people take the CMP or SCMP. And the only way to do that, to get it really widely, is to say this is ISO certified. So
and
I agree.
That's exactly why Lima, as an organization in Lithuania, partnered with the Netherlands institutes, because we understand, like, certifying locally, it means having specialists that are locally recognized. Today, when you finish the Lima certification, you get 4 diplomas. You get one that you were studying in ISM, another that you're recognized here in Lithuania, another one that it's a diploma from the Netherlands Institute, and another one is the European Marketing Association. It means it's recognizable not only in Europe, but most likely in the world also. And when you come to speak and you show this, 4 diplomas, I think there's not much doubts left that at least you know what you're talking.
Very good insight for that. And that brings me to another question, which is about recognizing the work that people are doing. You get certified, you are doing a good job, right? And then there are awards. But at the same time, I myself receiving an award at some point, and maybe some of the people may share these feelings, because I know Lina's team has received awards and some of you as well. Why should your employer care that you have received a professional award for doing a job well?
You know, I love crisis situations, because when you solve a crisis situation, you will be recognized mostly.
That's for sure. But when you're just doing a good job.
By your employer, by yourself, by your organization and other colleagues. But no, I am joking. But of course, first of all, it's recognition, your personal, professional recognition, and as well, it's recognition of your company you work for. And it's mostly these things who have the most impact.
I agree with you, and I think I sit on a number of judging panels, and I love sitting on judging panels because I learn so much. I read other people's submissions, I read their thought process, and I read their results. What did they get out of producing this flyer or this website or creating this internal or external campaign? And I see the results. And I take so much back. And I really think every time I want to give them high scores, but of course you have to score them according to a ledger, and sometimes they don't win awards, but then at least you can give them a feedback and say, we really like this part, but you should have paid more attention to the budget, which they don't often do. And if you're submitting an award and people ask you for budget, do make a comment about it. If you can't disclose a number, excuse me, a number, at least talk about it in bulk figures. But it is very rewarding to read submissions, and it's rewarding to be at an award ceremony where people are recognized for the work they do.
And if you manage to fill in the application for IABC, any other awards application is just so easy, because IABC has such a high standard for this. I'm telling from experience.
Yeah, and I would like to point a bit more. In Lithuania, we're also doing like the 4th year already, Lima CMO of the Year. And when we started with the applications, it was very funny. Well, you had to explain the participants why is it so important for them to fill the application in a full scale. And when you were evaluating, you already saw like who looked at it seriously and who didn't. And you know, I'm also saying this joke, like I think the worst job in the world is to work in the patent bureau, you know? Because every day you look at the papers, you read and say like, why didn't I think of this? You know, like it's like, oh my God, it's so easy. This was the feeling actually I got yesterday when I was evaluating, because I read, I said like, oh my God, these guys did so amazing things and the results are amazing. And it's like, sometimes I actually, when reading those applications, I was feeling very small. Have you ever felt that? It's like, then you understand like the network of people, oh my God, there's so amazing things happening around you.
Absolutely, and I guess it's when seeing the applications and when seeing the awards, what comes into this and what result it has on the business, it's much different to what you think is effective, especially when it comes to marketing. And such a small country as Lithuania, it's a small market. You have an opinion about everything, right? You've seen everything that is in the scope, and you have an opinion about what it is. And I guess it's pretty important to see what the results for the business are. And I think that is something that not all awards cover.
That's one of the key, actually, things that are really important, because, yes, we know people, and the market is small, and there is a human thing that someone you like, someone you don't like, right? But when you're working in the team of juries, you have to just remove all the I like, I dislike, everything, and just have a clear position on what is important and how you're evaluating.
And by the way, as a winner of an award, you're also obliged to present your submission. You have to go up and say, this is what we did. So we quite often ask people who have won awards to come back next year at a conference and talk about what they did. And also, we also publish papers with some of the awards if people allow us to, because I think we can all learn from these stories. There are great stories out there, and we can all learn from how people did it. And also, if people are challenged by with the task, how can we improve? How can we learn? And what did they do to overcome those challenges? And we need to share those stories.
I think from what I hear, awards is also a good way to reflect on what you did and what have you achieved and how does it benchmark with others. I think it's a great thing to do.
Actually, after this year's award show, we invited the CMO of the year. He's a marketing manager of Tele2, the telco company, to have a so-called closed session when we were just talking how the person reached these results and etc. What I really liked about the guy, he said like, I'm really honored to be nominated and be winning this position, but it's not me, it's my team. And in the end I said like, you not only we gave you a statue that states your name on it, you know that for next year, for the upcoming year, it's your job to ensure that more of the professionals will reach your level. He joked when he listened to this question, and then he said like, yeah, I understood, like I'm gonna teach others now, because I already reached it.
So he's teaching already now?
He's doing many actually things, and when we approach him with some questions, or for example, asking him to attend the events, he never refuses, says like, now I have this, I have to do it.
Great. Thanks a lot for your insights. And I have a quick question for every one of you. It's the same question for all of you, but tell me, from next week, every communicator should start learning more of blank. Fill in.
Data. Analyze and present data. And if your company is using Microsoft tools, just a little plug, there's a great new tool called Power BI. You can take all your data and make it very presentable so your management will go, wow, that's what you can do with data?
I would add as well to big data algorithms as well, as they are also important in nowadays communication and to be digitally advanced.
You're saying like it's very, very difficult things, and I would maybe give you an advice a bit easier. Everyone uses Facebook, right? But not everyone knows that Facebook has such tools as Facebook IQ or the Insights. And the most important thing, all those tools, they're for free, and they're giving you the insights. Just spend some hour understanding the market we are living in. It's very interesting to get to know what do Lithuanians do on Facebook? What do they like? What are the insights? There's so many of data already, and it's already they give you insights, you know, and you don't have to look at the numbers and think what do they mean. It's already written there.
Thank you, Mike.
I'd come at it from a completely different angle. Rather than learning what knowledge could do for you, I would focus on learning how you can best share your knowledge with the rest of us. What I've learned here just in the last 6 hours is that even though you're a small country, you're pretty advanced in terms of how you think, how you approach these things, and what you care about. And the world needs to hear your story. And I'm talking particularly about the communications world. So find out what the platforms are, where the opportunities are, and tell us what you're doing so that we can learn from you.
I'll just have to give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the panelists. Thank you very much.